Good evening. Good evening. How's everybody doing this evening?
Pretty good yourself.
Hi. Great,
Hello,
Um,
thanks.
everyone. Good evening, everyone.
so how's your last couple of weeks been? I know we missed last week. It was a little confusion. I posted a post in the group of a pre-recording of this week's training, so you guys can have something to watch this week. And then also, I had put the link so if you needed any one-on-one, to call me. But anyways, how did you guys make out this week or the last couple of weeks? How have you been making out?
All right, a little bit.
I've been great, thanks. I'm gonna be on a mute for a minute because I'm not stationary.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. How you doing, Winston? And we got Matthew. He just joined today. How you
Yeah,
doing, Winston? How was your week?
my week was good. Still hustling. Still trying to get some clients. Um, I went and got an NPI number, so I did that, and hopefully, sometimes this week, I'm gonna try to apply for Medicare to be a Medicare provider.
What have you done as far as besides getting an NPI number? Have you down? Have you what have you been researching?
So I've been, continuing going to different facilities. Um, I did get a referral from a local hospital, from a potential client, and I spoke to the potential client today, and I'm going to go to her house Monday at 9:30 a.m. to speak with her. So I'm making a little more progress. And next week, I'm also starting a cold calling campaign to, try to get more facilities sign up. Because right now, I've been spending way too much gas going to these facilities, trying to speak with someone from there. So I decided, I'm just going to hire someone from Upwork, to make some cold calls to about, I have a list of a little over 200 names and contacts. End of this week, I should get close to 500. I have someone who's doing data scrapping and getting me those names as well. So that's something I have planned.
Awesome. Our next core after next week is we're gonna start discussing virtual assistants. So that's perfect timing. How to leverage virtual assistants, how to find virtual assistants and use them for things like that. So that's what we're going to be discussing next week. So that's perfect timing. Um, so good. Winston, you want to introduce yourself? I heard you and I mean Matthew. You and Winston were talking. You want to introduce yourself, Matthew?
Yes,
Don, we
good
have
evening,
Don and Winston
everyone.
here.
Yes, good evening. My name is Matthew Etche, and I'm located here in Maryland, the DC, and they call it DMV, the DC metro area. I've been in the healthcare now for quite a while, and I'm joining this program with the goal of establishing my own home care business. Glad to be in the midst of every one of you. Thank you.
Absolutely, great, great. So Matthew, out after the call, I guess you can give me a call and I could walk you through. Well, you could just simply see on Facebook the last 3 weeks that you missed. And what we'll do is we'll have some coaching calls each week for the next couple of weeks to make sure you're caught all the way up to this particular slide here, this particular week. So don't worry if if I missed some things from the previous week or stuff like that, because this is actually part two of the caregiver training. So we were talking last week about caregiver recruitment. Now we're going to talk a little bit about caregiver retention, like how to keep good caregivers. Now I'll share some of my stories and stuff like that. Some things have been working for me. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, some of the things that I feel like is most important when it comes to caregiver retention is really the first and foremost, the most important thing is just showing some type of some level of appreciation on a consistent basis. Just really letting them know that you care, that they matter, and what they're doing, you really appreciate it. And there's multiple ways of doing that. And just don't, just showing that you care, showing that you're thinking about them, showing them that they are on your mind, and what they do is very important, not only to you, obviously for the company, but you figure out ways to bring the family in as well. So um in that appreciation process. So how do you do that? First and foremost, you call the families and you let them know, hey, look, how's such and such doing? If they're having, if they're doing a good job, and whatever it is, you want to have a great communication with the staff and the family. So when you do get this feedback, you want to always bring the caregiver in. And even if it's not the greatest feedback, you always want to make sure we'll talk about this later on when we discuss sales. And I think it's mentioned in the 1 minute manager, where you sandwich the negative. So if it is something bad that they're doing, say, hey, we really enjoy, how you spend the time with mom. We do have a little issue with you being late, but mom really, likes the puzzles and the things like that. So you sandwich the negative, but but more importantly than anything else, you're showing your appreciation. So what does that look like besides, just regular comments? It's, birthday cards, it's holiday cards, it's, we do turkey giveaways on Thanksgiving. We give all our caregivers turkeys and stuff like that. Gas cards, just different bonuses and different things. Because one thing you'll see and you'll learn quickly is that, it's only so much you could pay a caregiver, and money, obviously cash is king, and people really, especially nowadays, really need, the money. But there's only so much we could do as a home care company, because there's a cap to what we can pay them. It's not like an ongoing, we can't just keep going up, 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 up. Just no matter how great they are, you can't just keep going up, up, up. But you can't give bonuses, right? You can't give, $50 bonuses here, $150 bonus here, Christmas bonus, employee of the month, things like that. Another thing that's important that I feel like, that the caregivers really appreciate, and it's your entire staff, but most importantly your caregivers, is continued education. And if we look at the surveys, like we were discussing a few weeks ago, the benchmark studies that you guys, I hope you had a chance to take a look at, that continued education is one of the top 3 things that that helps with caregiver retention, because they're constantly learning. Did somebody say something? Oh, okay. They
I see 3 Kalea on board. I see 3.
huh?
What you need? How much?
I think somebody not on mute.
You got your ID?
Yeah, I think she's at the grocery store or something. uh, so continued education is really, so that's like when you go to apps like even through the people that we get the survey from, Home Care Pulse, they actually bought a company called In the Know. We were using another service, but they went out of business. Now we use In the Know. And In the Know is a service that allows you to put a certain amount of caregivers in their system per month, for a fee. But throughout the months, each caregiver has the opportunity to take different trainings. So what I suggest, is from the beginning. So one thing I learned early on, I figured out early on that I should have done it in the beginning, because as soon as they're hired, as soon as they start their shift, or that they start their first case, that they're in the continued education system. Don't kind of wait and kind of spring it on them 2-3 months later. Oh, now I want you to start doing continued education and make it mandatory, because then it's going to be like, it's going to be like a tougher conversation, to where as though even if you don't have it yet, like you don't have, you may not have the service yet, but like you may not be paying for it. You still want to make sure you're letting them know that continuing education is a requirement. Once we have the information for, we'll have you set up in however minutes time it's going to take for you to get it. It's coming, but continuing education is something that we consider as mandatory. So it's something that we consider as mandatory. My dog over here messing with me. I don't know what it is about I feel like the fact that people are able to continually learn, get better at what they do, they become more competent. I guess it just builds people's confidence. So then, as people become more confident in what they're doing, they do it better. And they feel like, and it's not that they feel like it, they're growing, they're learning, they're becoming better caregivers, they're becoming specialized. They, in this continuing education that I'm talking about, they get specialized certification. So they may become they get a certification in dementia, get a certification in Parkinson's, get a certification in certain things like diet and things like that. Take her and put her in the garage. So these are some of the things that happen, in the continue education process, and the service that you can begin to give your caregiver. Very high on the chart of things that make them want to stay with you. Again, appreciation, bonuses, different ideas for bonuses, continue education, and then empathy. Empathy is, just really starting to understand, really begin to understand, understand, get to know them on a personal level, but not become like too personal. I don't know if that's hard to, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but it's like you want to know who you're dealing with, but you don't want to get too personal. But at the same time, you want to understand them and become more empathetic as you get to know them, as they develop in your company, as they become better caregivers for you. You'll begin to see that different things that you could do to make their lives better. For example, a certain caregiver of mine, they were having wow. They were having trouble getting a car. So they couldn't get a car. So obviously we giving them, their paycheck is not going to, they don't have enough, they kind of struggling to get by every week anyway. Because it's not caregiving is not a million, you don't get rich as a caregiver. You see what I'm saying? It's just not a money driven career where you're going to make a whole lot of money doing it. Over the last few years, like with inflation and these COVID and all the prices, the rates went up for what people were paying, and then what caregivers are being, they're kind of demanding these new rates, like they're just asking way too much money than what their actual skill and talent is worth. In my eyes, after from doing it for so long, I see that. But what I'm saying is finding empathy and having a situation where she couldn't get a car. We gave her the down payment. We gave her like we gave her like an advance. Like, okay, we'll give you, $1,500 advance on your paycheck. And we're not giving it to just anybody who's walking in the door. They only been working for a few months. She's been with us for years. And her car broke down. She was having a really hard time getting to work, and finding rides, and Uber wasn't working, just with too much money. So, and I'm saying that to say that you want to develop some type of empathy and don't want to jump so fast to, especially if you have somebody who's really trying, who's they had a decent record. Like the first 90 days, first 6 months, I expect you to really be making it to work on time. Really doing a good job on your shifts. Not really no complaints. Not as far like being on the phone, things like that. We try to have a zero tolerance for phones, especially nowadays with everybody, all the families. Most of the families have cameras and stuff in their house. So having having that empathy is very important, because you just don't want to, just because she, you know, you have to understand that you can lose a really good caregiver just because they might have ran into a tough situation. And then we're gonna get into some do's and don'ts, and then we're gonna talk about solving employee problems before they start. So let me go ahead into this next slide. Communication is everything. Just have caregiver appreciation, have empathy. Communication is everything. And what we mean by this is just having a great line of communication, and doing, as often as you can, just kind of checking in with the caregiver, checking in with the family, checking in with all your staff. Like, you want to make sure that there's no real lag in communication. And I'm gonna tell you, sometimes with the communication, people don't realize, well, you might not think about it like this, but a lot of times the communication lags when things are good. You know what I mean? Like, the communication to kind of slow down when things are good. Well, this is something I've experienced in my own company, in my own agency, is that when things are going good, we tend to communicate less. Or when we don't have any problems per se, or there's no negative feedback, the communication kind of gets dry. We don't communicate as much. If there's issues and stuff, obviously we're back and forth and trying to, rectify the problems. But the point of it is, communication is everything. It's going to determine your success as a boss, as a business owner, as a manager, as a, when you deal with your clients, the communication has to be there, because there's subtle things that are happening every day within the household of your caregiver being there, is that, and sometimes the family not always ready to just say it. If you don't ask, they won't say nothing. They kind of just go up there, just kind of mark it off, like, especially if it's a negative thing, they just, like, okay, yeah, this company started getting on my nerves. And they might not call you and say, okay, this one thing, we weren't happy with, can we kind of talk about this? And they won't say it. And then, these kind of things will start adding up, adding up, adding up, and next thing you know, they got a whole list of things, and next thing you getting fired from this client. You losing this client, and you don't know why. When the whole time it's just been little things adding up, and it's just a lack of communication between you, the caregiver, and the family. And having that consistent communication is very important. Whether you're communicating, especially especially when it's a new case, and you working with a new caregiver. So, like, everybody's new. You and you typically don't want to put a new caregiver on a new case, but if you have to, obviously you guys are just getting started, everybody's going to be new. But if you can, you want to put a more experienced caregiver, somebody who their experience, not, they have quote unquote experience on their resume, but they have, experience with you, so you kind of know what to expect and who they are, and their temperament, their, how they are with different different clients and stuff like that. So, but overall, there's multiple ways to communicate. Obviously, phone call, weekly phone calls, emails, text messages, and just checking in after shifts. Especially in the beginning, making sure check how was your shift. How did everything go? The family, the first couple of weeks, the first couple of days, definitely. The caregiver, as soon as her shift is over, the family, you can give the family a call, say, hey, I just wanted to call. This is the first couple of days. We just want to make sure everything went well. Do you have any feedback? Is there any questions that you have, or do you think that this is going to be a good fit for you? How does mom feel? Or how does dad feel? Have you spoken? You want to make sure that the family knows that you're interested and available and there for them to kind of navigate any problems and make their service better as best as possible. And another thing you want to do is celebrate your staff, man. People like to be celebrated. And as much people always say, "Oh, I don't want nothing for my birthday. I don't want to bring this car. I don't make no big deal." That's an absolute lie. Everybody wants to be celebrated. So, you don't have to be. It don't have to be big things and over the top. But people's birthdays matter, and you almost become, especially if you have caregivers and you've been working with for years, and they're spending a lot of time working for you. They're not spending as much time as, they're spending just as much time with you, working at your client, working for your business, as they do at home with their family. They got a full-time schedule. You're their family. You're part of their, everyday life. So why not celebrate them? Why not go a little extra, on their birthday, or make a big deal out of something that's going on with them. Like maybe they're one of their children are graduating, or they're maybe having a grandchild. A lot because I like older caregivers. A lot of them have grandchildren, and you find out these things. You find out what religion they are, what they celebrate. Thanksgiving, obviously, Christmas, and just holidays overall. Make sure people, you're sending people cards, not just you. The inclination is to focus on clients. So like, okay, I'm sending clients birthday cards, gift, gifts and stuff like that. A little small gifts for birthdays or appreciation things. But you have to do the same thing for your caregivers. You have to make sure that the caregivers are being appreciated and you celebrate them as well. They have 4th of July. Why they can't get a card or some type of email or some kind of happy 4th of July? Something that kind of shows that you're there. You're thinking about them. Like, damn, and all of those things really add up, and it makes them feel good. You want them to have a feel good, like it really have a feel good experience when it comes to you and your agency, because the thing about it is, it's a lot of competitors out there for them to go work at, and a lot of these caregivers jump from agency to agency to agency to agency. And if you start to ask them, and you start to feel like, what do you feel, what makes you, gonna have a good experience, or what's a good experience for you at an agency? They're gonna say certain things, and get past the money and the shifts that they want, and obviously the have access, easy access to the actual cases, like they can get there without a hard time. It's gonna be like how they're being treated, and are they being heard? Are they being celebrated? Is there communication? And then finally, we talk about their goals. Like, I'm not, if a caregiver is excited about becoming a nurse, a lot of times you get caregivers who have the motivation, or they want to eventually become a nurse. They're just kind of like starting here, and they want to move on. Like, you can support their goals. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, this is the end all to be all. There's more caregivers. So if you have a great caregiver who also has goals, like, do what you can to support their goals. If you can make a shift for them so they can take their classes, or you can find different things that they can, get their goals accomplished, or there's stuff that you can do. Maybe like a little piece of research you might help, or you might have a resource that you can shoot their way to help them go along the path of their goal. Or just think about it. Maybe there's somebody in your network or in your company, or something more that they could do that can support their goals. So these are definitely some of the things you want to think about when it comes to caregiver appreciation and caregiver retention. Does anybody have any questions at this second? Any questions? Any questions? Everybody on mute. Okay, cool.
No question.
Okay, great.
No question yet.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, like I was saying, cash is king. Anytime you can give them a bonus, they've been coming in on time. You want to make it to where there's something that they can expect. Kind of create programs. Like you on time for 14 days straight, or 21 days straight, or whatever you feel like you can afford. 30 days straight, you get a little bonus on your check. You can give gas cards, like different kind of gift cards. Christmas, you got give kind of bonuses and stuff around Christmas and different holidays. Obviously, like I said, birthdays, employee of the month, stuff like that. So these are different things that you can offer. Paid leave is something you can offer it if you can, once you can afford it. You don't have to pay their full rate, but you can pay them something, on days that they requested off, and you could probably, that you could offer, whether 10, 5, 12, 13, 15 days, that you could say, okay, these are amount of paid days you have throughout the year. And obviously that's not something you want to have immediately, but over time, when you start making money, you have a decent amount of clients and stuff like that. For your more senior caregivers, the one who earned it, who actually got you to that level, got you to that place. Because one thing you can't forget, one thing I try to never forget is that if it wasn't for the caregivers, it wouldn't be no me. It wouldn't be if I wouldn't be able to go turn my light switch on or turn my heat on because it's getting chilly outside if it wasn't for no caregiver. Because every dollar that I make is for the most part, you know what I mean, it's coming from every hour that the caregiver was working. So I gotta remember that. And I gotta remember that and I gotta, remind myself to continually, if I want to keep on turning my light on and turning my heat on when I need it, and putting gas in the car and things like that, I got to make sure these caregivers are happy. So these are the things that that I just want to make sure we enforce early on when it comes to, really showing appreciation, showing that you care, and, cash, gift cards, pay leave, employee of the month. There's so many other things you could do. These are just giving you some ideas. Like, think outside the box. Google it. Like, what's some of the things I could do to show appreciation to my, don't necessarily just say caregivers, but employee appreciation ideas. And nowadays with AI and ChatGPT, man, you'll have a million ideas. And all you gotta do is just start implementing them. Whatever makes sense to you and your company. So continuing education is as like we were discussing in the beginning, is very important. And I feel like, I would, if I were any if I was to start from scratch again, I would do it from the beginning. I didn't do it in the beginning. I didn't know in the beginning. It was nobody teaching home care in the beginning. And that's not an excuse, but I didn't, what you didn't know, you didn't know. So other home care services weren't telling me what they were doing to keep their caregivers. So if a caregiver didn't tell me what they was doing at another agency, I wouldn't know. Because again, there was no YouTube and all these other people telling how this works and stuff like that. So once I realized, and reading and studying different, uh it actually came from the survey, the benchmarks, and I talk about this a lot, and I really feel like it's important that you guys also look at it. It's the Home Care Pulse surveys that they do every year, where they survey all the agencies around the country. Well, as many, thousands and thousands of agencies around the country, and get these different this data. And the data showed that caregivers who had continuing educations, or companies that implemented continuing education in their agency, had a far higher rate of retention than the companies that didn't. So the people who did it kept their employees, their caregivers longer, and the people who didn't obviously. So, what are some of the things that with the continue education offers? It offers state training requirements. It offers specialty training, like we were discussing, in Parkinson's, dementia. I don't know why I'm having like a brain thing, but like all the different, it's so many. It's like it's not even funny. Like all these different things, like different moods and different mobility things. It teaches you all of these different skills to just make so you're making your caregiver just much better caregivers for your company. So when you do get into a situation, for example, somebody might have Parkinson's, you'll have a caregiver who, or most likely you'll have a caregiver who already went through that training. Obviously, you're gonna make sure caregivers are taking the first trainings that they take are the ones that are more prevalent, like Alzheimer's, dementia, diabetes, things like that. Things to where they're gonna be running into. So you make sure they're taking them first. Getting those certifications first, because with the specialty training, they get an actual certification after they complete a certain amount of hours. They get an actual certificate for each training that they take. So there's reinforcement and celebration in that. And then, like I said, make it mandatory from day one. Make it mandatory from day one. When I was creating this slide, the price was $10 per caregiver, and that's the contract that I have within the know. Now I haven't been on there to look and see what the prices is currently, but I'm sure it's not far from this.
What
So
software is this?
This is In the Know. Oh, but it's through it was called In the Know, but Home Care Pulse bought it. So it's through Home Care Pulse, their continuing education services.
Home care pause. Got
Yeah,
it.
Home Care Pulse. So yeah.
Do you have to sign up for an account with Home Care Pulse? Like I said,
You can go straight to their. You can go to their website. I'll post the link. Let me post the link while we talking about it in the group, so you can find it easily.
all right.
And if you have any questions, feel free to while I'm doing this. They call it HCP training now. Home Care Pulse training. 500 courses. RN developed blended online and service training option tailored to your state requirements.
And you just posted that on Facebook?
I'm posting it now.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thanks.
So yeah, that's pretty much how with the continuing education is all about and why we think it's beneficial. Dude, set goals with your caregiver. Catch them doing something right instead of like catch them doing something wrong. People always want to, catch somebody doing something wrong. Catch them doing something right. And I get this stuff from the 1 Minute Manager book. Document everything, the good and the bad. Birthday cards, holiday cards, turkeys, Christmas bonuses. Create a support system, team mindset, and a mentorship. When you're setting goals with your caregivers, just kind of it's once you get a case, once you get a client, you get a care plan. Doing that when you're creating that care plan, when your nurse or whoever's there creating that care plan with the family and the patient, there's goals there. And what you're trying to do is you align those goals with your caregiver's goals. Apart some of those goals with your caregiver, not that doesn't have to be all your caregiver's goals, but that's part of their goals, obviously. So they have their set of goals, like, okay, what do you want to do? What do you see yourself as a caregiver, or what do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? What do you want to do? Do you want to, feel like you want to be a caregiver? Do you want to work your way up to the company? What are some of the different things you want to learn? What do you want to get good at? These are some of the things that you want to know about your caregiver. And then also the care plan. What does the family want? What do they expect? What are their goals for their loved one? Do they want them to walk more, get more social interaction, play games, or more quiet time? Because the house, see, a lot of times people think that all families want their caregivers to want their family to be active. Some families want some peace. And some of the things they don't want a caregiver that's going to be talking all day and having the TV blasting or having a whole bunch of video games and card games. Some families, everybody has different personalities, right? So some family want somebody who's quiet, and that's the thing. When you preparing, you're pairing these people. You don't want to put a chatty patty caregiver in the family or in a situation where a family is not excited about having all these conversations all the time. So that's something you got to think about. But when you're setting your goals, you want to make sure to be setting goals with your caregivers so you guys can have kind of like a benchmark or some kind of something to look towards or something like how are we getting closer, something that we can kind of measure their success or measure their their I don't know what it is. I'm just long day. Measure their progress overall. And then, like I said, catch them doing something right. So what we do is we have like random um we'll pop up to a family's house without calling. or we'll give them really short notice, be like, oh yeah, we're 5 minutes away. We're just coming in and do a quick drive through, a check-in, check on you and the family, stuff like that. So not giving them too much, time in advance, just so I like to do it because it kind of creates I don't want them to be like paranoid, but it kind of creates like this environment of like, damn, I'm always being checked on. And then also nowadays, most families have cameras anyway, but that's the family. But we also want to make sure we're checking in and kind of monitoring our cases as well, besides what the family's doing. But in that, what you can get is a more if you go about it the wrong way, it's like where you go in there and you have somebody who's just nitpicking and looking at everything that they've been doing wrong and hey, you ain't do this or you ain't do that, they may have not done everything right, that day, or they might have, didn't do whatever. They might have missed a couple things that they haven't done yet, or took out the trash, or made the bed, or finished the laundry at a specific time, or, hopefully they're doing everything they're supposed to. But you don't just want to highlight the negative all the time. If you see a couple things, you mention it, but you always, like I said, you sandwich the negative with the positive. You catch them doing something right. Like, man, you're doing a really great job here. You're doing, this is really, we're really proud of, this is really happening. You're doing this here, this and this and that, whatever that case may be. You're doing something that benefits the family. That they really appreciate you, and you're doing a great job. Like that really makes people feel good, especially opposed to like when the state come and or they don't care about what you're doing right. They trying to see what you're doing wrong, and trying to give you some kind of penalty for that. We're not coming to do that. We just want to make sure this is just another way for us to communicate and to be present in our clients and caregivers shift in their day. And again, like I was saying, the dudes, make sure you document everything. If they're having a good day, they're doing good, did you pop up, make sure you put that in their file. It's not just negative stuff. Sometimes, they might be late, or, they made a call out at a, made called out. These are things you want to document, of course, but, or they might have had an issue or you know, some kind of problem had arise or whatever may happen at a shift, you just want to make sure you document everything. That's just a professional way of handling things. So if there is ever a time where you have to address this stuff, you'll be able to. You'll have everything documented, especially when it's time to like fire people. But give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. But you definitely want to make sure you document everything. But not always just the bad stuff, the good stuff as well. But when it does come to the bad stuff, and if you do want to, and you get to the point where you have to fire them, which is gonna happen, there's no getting around that. You're gonna have to let caregivers go more often than you would like, just because I don't know. I have caregivers that I've had since literally 20. I would say I think my oldest caregiver been around since 2016, 2017, and what is 2023 going on 20, and she still works with me. So you can have some very long, long relationships with caregivers, but man, I'd have had some that make it to work. Went through the whole process, they didn't even show up for work. So it's like, they won't last one day to, multiple years. And it just be like that. So um when it comes to firing and letting them go, you have to be real careful, and you have to make sure that you have everything documented so that when you do fire them, you do it right, and you don't set yourself up for some type of lawsuit or things like that. Because believe it or not, people will, some people are professional, you know, professionals when it comes to that. You'll be surprised, but there's people who get jobs to get fired so they can sue. And I haven't got sued for that reason, but I know that it's out there, and I know that's very important for having everything documented. So when you do ever have to get into that situation, firing someone, you'll have all the information you need. You can't just be like, oh, you fire, you terminated, don't come back to work. You turn in all your information, da 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 da. That's not gonna work, because if you get in front of a judge and you're supposed to be a company, a professional service, and you don't have any documentation of this employee done anything wrong, you can get in a bad you can be in a bad situation. um, Birthday cards, holiday cards, turkeys, Christmas bonus, pretty obvious. Create a support system, and what I say about creating a support system is, um, I allow my caregivers to communicate, and they don't make final decisions, but they can, ask for different things and, get it approved through us. And that's basically, what usually happens is they start to communicate and say, hey, can such and such work for me? I need this day off. I found coverage. And you can say, they can kind of help out in that way, but they don't get the final say so. They can be like, oh, because this has happened to me as well, where the caregivers in the beginning, me not knowing what was going, just kind of winging it, trying to figure it out, on my own. Caregivers were switching shifts, not even know, like so. I was thinking one caregiver was go to work, and then I get a cock in from somebody. I'm like, yo, what's this? You're not supposed to be there. What's going on? And oh, I asked such because she worked for me. All of that. That's cool, but you got to run it through the office, and you want to make sure that everything is done properly. You can't take that kind of stuff. You can't do it on your own. It don't work like that.
Quick
And
question, Alan. Quick
a lot of
question.
times when you're a smaller company, people kind of do things like that. Go ahead. Somebody say something.
No, just a quick question. Sorry to interrupt. Can you use the families? Can you use family members of their family as caregivers? Is that something that is done sometimes?
The family of the
Not
client's
not your
family
not your family, family of the client. Yes.
as a caregiver, as a paid caregiver. I've have I've never I've had no, so no, I've never had that. But I've had
Okay.
clients' family who thought they could be the caregiver, and they make a lot of trouble. But no, I've never hired a client's family member to work for me as a client, as a caregiver for their loved one. No, that's never happened before.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But what I'm gonna tell you, what does happen is the the family becomes like become one of your top competitors, because if it's so, say for example it's a situation where there's mom and there's multiple children, mom's money is being kind of monitored, and everybody wants to trying to figure out how they gonna fit into get a piece of the pie. they're they'll begin to be they'll become caregivers, so quote unquote, in their head, but oh, I could do that, or oh, we don't need any service. So once they say you might get in, say for example, you'll get in, you'll sign a contract, you'll meet with the family, do everything that you need to do, be scheduled to go to work, start working, maybe work a couple pay periods. Certain family members hear how much you making, and then now they want to do it. So they like, oh, give me this, I can do the money for this. So it's weird like that. Like the family will become your competitors at some point. But you just want to make sure that you reiterate that, we're professional. This is what we do. I mean, if you ever do run into this situation. So what you said kind of reminded me of that, but no, um, I've never seen that. But we do have issues with the family on multiple different levels, because obviously we're dealing with families. But like I'm
Okay.
saying, creating a support system, not only just sharing shifts and stuff like that, but having, allowing kind of like a team dynamic, creating like a team dynamic where they work together, they help each other. You don't always have to call the office, or you can, if you need certain things, obviously important, official things. But if you have questions and you just want to talk to another caregiver, somebody who's been doing it a little longer, we have what we call mentors within our company. So the older caregivers, the people who've been around longer, are become mentors. So like if she has certain questions, she could call such and such. She's new, and she's maybe not just new to our company, but she's a new caregiver, which we don't. I don't want to say it too loud, but we don't hire people who don't have as much experience, but we do sometimes hire people who don't have a whole lot of experience. They might only have a couple years of experience, which where I like to work with caregivers who have 5 years plus. Uh, it's not always easy to find them, but that's what I prefer. Um, and women that are up in age, but that's not always the case. But these are the people that you want to create as the mentors, and then let the new caregivers that come on, kind of help, kind of nurture a relationship. Hey, you think such and such you can get such and such a call, or can such and such give you a call from time to time? She runs into different issues, different problems. Do you feel like that's something that you can allow? Blah blah blah. These are some things that you can offer within your company. So, creating that mentorship, and then that team mindset. Some of the things I wanted to talk about are the don'ts. Hire friends and family. Like, this is one thing I really suggest you don't do. Even though I did hire my sister, she did an excellent job as in a minute in a from an administrative point. Um, but just overall, it just wasn't a great. It's just not the best thing for your friends and your family. Even though you'd be excited in the beginning, you just want to share and tell everybody what you're doing and all that. It's just for long haul, unless you have really good professional relationships with your friends or particular family members who you have a clear understanding on, when we're professional, we're professional. When we're friends, we're friends. We're family, family. These are two different things. That's one thing, but um, you really don't want to get too personal. I mean, I don't really want to hire friends and family, but it's up to you. When it comes to getting personal, we were talking about empathy and getting to know them, and having like a certain relationship. You don't want to get too personal. And what I mean by that is you don't want people to feel like they can. It's almost like, and I guess I'll say it, but it's like, if you black and you hiring black people, and you like a smaller company and they kind of feel like you're a smaller, it's like they kind of feel, it's like you get a different vibe. Well, it's just me. I just felt like in the beginning, I was like, man, if I was white, you wouldn't be asking me this, or if you wouldn't be trying to get this off, or you wouldn't be doing this. You see what I'm saying? That's just what I think, and maybe that's just wrong on me, but on my part. But I just felt like it was certain things that were happening or people were saying and doing within the company that I felt like, maybe that was just because I didn't create I felt like I got too personal too soon, or too personal, period, and didn't keep like those professional boundaries. And that's just when it comes to like sharing certain things about your personal and private life, you just don't want to have at work, period. Um, because eventually that stuff can come back and backfire. And the same for the caregivers. You don't need to know everything that's going on in their household, everything that's going on, all their little drama and stuff like that. It's not your information. It's just, you don't need to hear it all. You don't want to be privy of every little thing that they have going on. Because for one, it'll stress you out. If you have enough caregivers and with enough situations, you will start to get stressed out, because it's just a lot going on with a lot of people. Um, but again, what can also happen, these personal feelings or ideas or thoughts that they have, like this special privilege, and it kind of erodes the professional relationship. That's what you don't want to do. You don't want these, to get it too personal where they feel like they can, Oh, I just felt like it would be all right if I just came in a couple 30 minutes late, over and over. Like, no, that's not how it goes. This is, you have, you do it once, you get a warning, you do it again, you getting, another penalty, whether that's documenting pay, cutting the hours, you start looking for different people to work at this shift, like, or all out fired. It's not just it's not that we
Sure.
cool. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's never that, because that's what kind of happens. And I seen that a lot with my ex-wife, that she was beginning to have like these it almost seemed like personal relationships with the caregivers that was kind of eroding the
Mm,
professionalism, and we were starting to pay for it. Go ahead.
mm.
Was there
Yeah,
something you
no,
were saying, Matthew?
yeah, sorry to ask this question. I think
No.
it's because maybe I've not been in previous classes, but so when we start out as new home care agencies, how many clients, for example, are we dealing with to be able to cope with them? When I mean how many clients, I'm also talking about how many caregivers, at the same time on an average, like are we dealing with five? Are we dealing with 10? Are we dealing with 20? Like so that
Um,
we're able to also manage this number of people and the
as
various
you
things going
grow,
on.
your administration should grow. Like, you see what I mean? Like, five caregivers, say five clients. Most clients require only one caregiver. Sometimes, like, I have one client that has three caregivers because they just get a lot of hours. But there are, most of the time it's one client per one caregiver. They probably getting a full-time shift, a part-time shift, or something in between. So that's usually one client to one caregiver. So with that, that's kind of how you're gonna, who you're gonna be dealing with. Um, do you only want to have five caregivers? If you have five clients, no. You want to have multiple caregivers. You're always gonna be marketing for caregivers. You're always gonna have advertisements out to bring caregivers in. You're always running ads on Indeed. Indeed is the primary source that we find caregivers at this point online. So you always want to have these people communicating and trying to, you always want to be vetting new caregivers so you can have a large database, because obviously you're in the business to grow, and and not even just to grow. You want to, in case some of these caregivers fall off, you want to make sure you have backups. But as far as management, I feel like if you have a full-time job and you're getting it started and you end up with two or three clients, you're going to need some help. You might not need a full-time help, but you could definitely use some help. Whether it's just a virtual assistant taking calls, um, managing the software, making sure everything's going through with scheduling. Like, a lot of the administrative stuff you can probably handle, but it's more so just the phone call, like invoicing and scheduling. You could probably handle that with a piece of software from your job, right? But and that depends on what type of flexibility and stuff you do have at your job. But if you have, if but and then as you grow, you'll probably need more help. So, like I said, between, once you get to 4 to 5 clients, you should start really thinking about bringing on like a full-time virtual assistant, and then from there you could just assess the need as you grow. But five and under, I feel like, you know three, two or three clients, you could probably manage that from work, and still working your job and still handling everything, because for the most part it's not physical, right? You don't have to actually be anywhere, um to, you don't have to be in a physical location, besides, doing the interviews. In which we, a lot of our interviews now are virtual, but also going to the meet with the families. Now, um I would suggest, as soon as possible, hiring somebody to go do your consultations if you're not able to, because there will become times, and you could just kind of use like PRN as needed. There will be times when you may be at work, and that's the only time the family's available. And it's always good to have like a nice professional person to go, especially who really understands the medical side, or the care side of the business, along with the selling and the presentation of your company. That's always a good thing to have. So we always like to hire a nurse, and we pay them per visit. Um, so
Sorry, I'm jumping off now. I have
mhm.
something else to attend to. So I guess whatever I miss, I'll be able to listen to the recording.
Yeah, all this has been recorded. And
Okay.
then the last three, like I said, we'll talk about the last three classes that you missed. So we can schedule a
Okay.
call tomorrow or anytime this week to talk, and then get you caught up on anything that we discussed tonight or prior, or anything you want to discuss overall.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you so much. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Winston.
Absolutely. So we're gonna keep on going. So this is the book of the that I suggest everybody read this week. We're gonna end it tonight. It's 7 o'clock. But this is a book that I suggest everyone read. The prior last week we talked about oh, and that's another thing that we do here, Matthew, is we do required reading every week. So you should be reading one book a week just so you can become a better at different topics that we're going to be discussing. So this week's required reading is employees solve employee problems before they start. This is a great book that helps you better understand, some of the conflicts and the issues and the problems that you're going to run up against, and just kind of really figuring out ways to, um, really, address them before they get out of control. I feel like it's a really great book, and it's something that everybody should read if they're planning on having employees.
Awesome.
It's a fun book, and you know, it should be fairly cheap. You should be able to get it. Like for me personally, I don't read like I used to. Now I listen to all my books because it's just so much more convenient for me to like walk around and do different things and listen to books opposed to sitting down reading. I can't do anything else but hold the book. So I like to listen to my books now and then kind of take notes as I'm going. So I'll pull up a notepad on my phone, put the title of the book, and then I'll just start typing notes if it's some, as things come up that I want to remember. I'll just
Yeah.
type the notes in, kind of pause it and just go type the note and then keep on going.
So
So,
yeah,
huh?
I think Matthews he logged off, but anyways, the last
Oh
two
man, he
weeks,
logged off.
yeah, I think the last 2 weeks, I read what is it? The Greatest Salesman in the World. Have you heard of that book?
What's it called?
The Greatest Salesman in the World.
I've heard of that. Who wrote that?
Oh, I can't remember. Hold up. Let me log back into my Audible. But it's a really good book. Really good book.
Share it in the group.
It's by O.G. Mendino. Really, really good book. And now I'm reading 100 Million Offers. It is a sales book. It's really good to us. How to make offers so good, people feel stupid saying no.
Yeah, post that in the group so everybody can see that. I've heard
Oh,
of it. I should have read it,
it's
but
really good.
I don't know why I haven't read it because I do remember so many books
Yeah.
that you can't get to them all, but that's definitely one of them that I want to
Here, I had a quick question.
I'm doing my training right now, son. I'll talk to you in a second. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm looking into being a Medicaid and Medicare provider. Um, have you done that process before? Do you provide Medicaid and Medicare?
I don't.
Is there a reason why?
Yeah. So for one, the process when I first got started, the process it wasn't even worth it. What they were paying was below my minimum. So
Really?
the Medicare was only paying $17 an hour, and I was starting at 18. This was back in the day, like when I
Now, is,
first got
is
started, huh?
this how is this how much you was paying your caregivers, or is that how much you was charging your clients?
That was how much I would charge my client. In the beginning, I started out paying my caregivers like $10, $12 an hour. But again, this was years ago.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You can't get away with that no more. I mean, in certain markets you can, like down south and stuff like that. You can probably get away with $12, 13 stuff like that, but not today. And not in our market, like the East Coast, upper, and it's
Yeah.
probably gonna be the same way where you are. So that was one of the reasons they just wasn't paying enough, so it didn't make sense to go through the hassle. And another thing, because I wasn't able to find a caregiver who was gonna make, pay the caregiver and still make money. So I didn't do it. Another thing was when I first started, I didn't know what to do, how to get set up and all of that stuff. So I just never, tried to figure it out. And when
Yeah,
I
I mean,
realized that, Maryland had required you to have like a certain amount of time, be like in business for a certain amount of time,
I
have
see.
certain standards and stuff like that. When I was first starting, I didn't have that. You know what I mean? I didn't have the staff, and
Yeah.
I didn't have the capacity to meet the state requirements. And as I grew, I began to build my private pay base and my referral network that I just never needed it. And I felt like, I just didn't ever need it because, for one, I didn't want that extra layer of scrutiny as far as
Yeah.
just like having the government or the state kind of overlooking my company and trying to every little thing had to get scrutinized. And I'm just not good with all of that scrutiny and all of that back and forth with them. If we miss one thing, then we don't get paid. And that was another thing. if if we didn't have the money in the beginning to pay the caregivers 60 to 90 days until we got paid for Medicare. You see what I mean? So if they're going to work, they're getting paid, huh?
So that's how long it takes for Medicare to pay you back, about 60 to
Then
90
I don't.
days.
So now they have like they're way advanced now, and they have different programs. And like I said, I haven't been looking at it. I haven't been really paying attention.
Yeah.
But that was how it was. That's some of the reasons why we never got involved with it. And by the time I did, I kind of thought about it. It just didn't make sense to, I just never felt the need to.
Yeah, I mean, only reason why I'm asking is the referral that I got from the hospital. It shows that the potential client, she's on Medicaid, so I'm not sure if I will have to go through Medicaid, or if she will be okay with being a private pay.
Most likely, if she's on Medicaid, she's gonna be trying to get paid through Medicaid. So if you want to start the process, I would suggest going ahead and get the process started if you feel like that's going to be beneficial. Just kind of seeing like what the process looks like for you,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
in your state, and then we'll do everything we can on our end to help you get it accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, I've already kind of started. I have the NPI number, and now my profile just has to get updated on the website so I can go ahead and request to be a Medicaid provider.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so just keep me updated on where you at with that. And
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
give me what let's schedule a call, and let's see how we can help you get Medicaid approved.
All right, man. I'll probably call you on, or try to schedule something for this Thursday or Friday.
Okay, all right, bud. I look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, man. Bye.
All right, thanks.